This episode of The Beef Show is unsponsored. If you would like your business, product, or service advertised here, please email us beefshow71@gmail.com.
Live from West Michigan, it's The Beef Show with Brandon Braisted.
I said, give me a hell yeah!
So, I guess we're going to do this again. It is Saturday, February 4th. I almost said January. And I'm going to try this again. This is The Beef Show. I am Beef, Brandon Braisted. I really don't think you guys want to hear the story about how I became named Beef. It's quite funny, but maybe sometime down the road. We are coming to you live from an unsponsored studio, and we're going to do this about 12 to 20 times a year. So the reason that the Beef Show went away for a long time was that during football season also happens to be the busiest season during my day job. And it's incredibly difficult to work 55, 60 hours a week and then come back and actually try and even watch sports when you get home. Usually the sports events are all done by the time you get home and get to bed. It doesn't work out really well. So we decided, we being me and a couple other people that seem interested in helping out with the Beef Show over time, that we're going to do this show every 2 to 6 weeks. We'll see what happens. There's no promises. And like I said, it could be 6 weeks and then 6 weeks and then every 2 weeks. It's really easy to get people to help out with football. It's incredibly difficult to get people to help out during baseball season. It's incredibly difficult to get people to commit to a Friday night or a Saturday morning so that the stuff is relevant that we talk about on Monday when everyone goes to work and then has to start listening to the podcast again. So we'll do our best, but there are no guarantees. And this episode of the show is not going to be really long because there really isn't much to talk about during Super Bowl week. If you really think about it, the only thing going on is the Super Bowl. And there's a little bit of hockey being played, but to be honest, as a general conscience of America, we don't pay much attention to hockey. I live in Michigan. You don't really hear much about hockey, and you really, really don't hear much about hockey when the Red Wings are struggling like they are now, which is ridiculous to think about, that for the first time in what seems like my conscionable lifetime, the Red Wings might not make the playoffs for multiple years in a row and might be entering a rebuilding season. And then spring training hasn't started yet. The Lions were eliminated in the poorest performance I could imagine by Seattle. There isn't much of anything to talk about, and it kind of shows when you do a podcast. The other thing is I don't really have the time to dedicate to just sitting down on my butt watching sports, which kind of sucks actually, because I got a huge TV for Christmas from my wonderful girlfriend, and I pay a lot of money for cable every month. Now, what there is to talk about is what the future of the Beef Show will hold from here on out. We're going to try and do a few different formats. We're going to try to do some interview type shows, hopefully with in-studio guests. And the studio is not necessarily designed to travel, but it can for the right guest. We're going to try and do a live show at some point this year where basically we're going to say people come down, bring kegs, pay money, sit in chairs quietly, and laugh at the jokes. I was involved with a group earlier this year, this past couple years actually, that is helping to renovate the disc golf course at Johnson Park in Wyoming, Michigan. I'd like to get all the people, and hopefully we can, to be on the show just so we can talk about that and disc golf. Fantasy football will be coming up mid to late August. I'm sure all I have to do is just make a Facebook post. Hey, who wants to be on a fantasy football podcast? And there will be 13 people that know nothing about fantasy football chiming in. I say this because I know very little about fantasy football. I finished second in one league and fourth in another. So,
Garbage!
That's what I think about your teams, people. We're also going to try and do some more interesting type style shows. We haven't figured out what exactly we're going to do, but I know we're going to do fewer and fewer of these shows where you just have to sit and listen to me be boring
Garbage!
and talk about nothing. And no. Oh shit, I hit the wrong button. But we're going to do less of that. I don't even have a show plan right now. I wanted to talk about Baylor football, and what I found out was that I don't even think Baylor football knows what's going on right now. The Washington Post had a great article about how the NCAA has kind of dropped the ball in regards to punishing schools that don't necessarily break NCAA rules, but more break laws. And we shared it on the Facebook site. I might tweet it out again later. And it's kind of sad, and it's really disgusting. And I mean, if the NCAA is going to have a death penalty for schools that break rules, the NCAA should enforce it. And these are huge infractions. These are huge legal matterings where athletic departments and school administrations are covering up terrible, terrible crimes in an effort to keep a sports team on a field, and the NCAA is not really doing anything about it. We saw it with Penn State. We're seeing it with the University of North Carolina. It's still an ongoing investigation. But we're not necessarily seeing anything else happen with regards to punishment, but you have the death penalty that you could use to send a clear message that this will not be tolerated. What SMU did was terrible, and it set the program back a long time, but they have recovered, and we have seen teams go from the bottom to the top, back to the bottom, back to the top. It is possible Baylor football could recover, but the program is just so fucked up at this point. Just get rid of it. Suspend the entire operation of football for a year or two and make a statement that sexual assault and sexual abuse will not be tolerated, and we will no longer cover this mess up anymore, and schools will be punished. But is it because they're a Power 5 school? We don't know, and more keeps leaking out. It's at the point where I saw a quote, I didn't read the article, but basically the Big 12 commissioner said, yeah, this Baylor thing's getting kind of messy, and we don't really know what to do ourselves. So we were going to touch on that, but like I said, it's too much for me to even handle, and I'm not touching on politics. I really don't care who Tom Brady or Roger Kraft or Arthur Blank or Matt Ryan voted for, nor will I ever give a fuck. Basically, I very much so believe that sticking to sports is a terrible idea. At the same time, I really don't care who you vote for. If your cause has prevalence, you should speak out on it. You should draw attention to it. You should use your platform to make things better for people that you're fighting for. I have no problem with an athlete that takes a knee during the national anthem. I have no problem with people burning the American flag. My family has a long military history. They don't like it, but then they even say, you know what? That's kind of what we signed up for. So if the veterans are saying, you know what? I hate it. It hurts. We signed up to defend their right to do that, though. How am I going to be mad? And if it creates a conversation, and it should create a conversation, then let it create a conversation. It's going to take a lot for me to jump up here and say, and spend 20, 30, 40 minutes of your time saying, this is what I believe in politically. Now let me listen to you. Let me make you listen to it for a few hours. That's not who I am. It's never who I've been. It's never who I'm going to be. I've got to really believe in it at the risk of losing my show. Or not necessarily my show. I own my show. The risk of losing my listeners, who might not necessarily believe the same things I believe in. So no, unfortunately, we're not going to cover who voted for who or whatever and whatever, because quite frankly, I do not give a fuck. If I really hope, I will say this one thing, and everyone's Facebook feed is full of political posts now. Everyone's Twitter feed is full of political posts now. If you use any sort of social media, it's full of political posts. You go on TV, and depending on what TV station you watch is who is reporting the news, and you see everything, either Donald Trump is the greatest or Donald Trump is the most terrible. I honestly hope this renewed activism in politics continues, and not just for 4 years or 8 years or until we get the right president.
Garbage!
Until forever, basically. Because this is the stuff you should care about. It used to be a time when more people cared about who the starting quarterback was for the Detroit Lions than whether or not we should be at war. Now, thankfully, things have turned. By the way, I don't know why anyone would doubt Matt Stafford's ability to lead the team. He was having a great season until he broke his finger. And you could see it when he threw the ball. And then the lack of the running game showed its ugly head. That was basically what happened. Matt Stafford went down, and Matt Stafford is the center of the Detroit Lions. That stuff happens. I mean, we all can't be the Green Bay Packers and have a wide receiver who just so happens to be a top 10 running back in the NFL. You don't get that lucky sometimes. A lot of these teams, Indianapolis was based on Peyton Manning for a long time. He went down. They did terrible. It's not uncommon. So I don't know why everyone's all like, get rid of Matt Stafford. He had a broken finger and he was playing football. Like, how hard is this to understand? I understand the frustration. I am a Lions fan. It sucks. But, I mean, come on. Let's be real. Your quarterback, the guy who throws the ball with his hand, had a broken finger on his throwing hand. How hard is it to understand why he played so bad late in the season? Especially when you don't have a running game. Lions fans, please understand, Barry is not coming through that door again. And there is probably never going to be another savior-type running back in the NFL. It's a passing league. You rely on your quarterback. I think the Lions turned a corner. I thought they were going to win like 6 games, maybe. It was going to be a decent year. They won 9, made the playoffs. Still kind of had a look at a good game with Seattle. I don't know. I turned it off in the third quarter. And then, but, yeah, I turned it off. I didn't want to watch it. It was pissing me off. It's hard. It's hard. I've always said 2008 was the hardest year to be a Lions fan, and the second hardest year have been these 3 years we've made it to the playoffs, thinking that we have a chance, only to have that crushing defeat because you're so high throughout the year, like, we're going to the playoffs, we're going to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden,
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
it's just how life is sometimes. Oh, we're knocking off the rust. I feel it. I don't even know what I'm saying. I think the show's already running long for what I thought I was going to do. I didn't plan on doing any of this. I really wanted to break down this whole Pat McAfee retiring, one of my favorite NFL players. I'm a fan of the kicker and the punter. He's had 3 knee surgeries in 4 years, which, I mean, you use your legs, and that's all he uses. He doesn't use his hand. I mean, he uses his hands to catch the ball, but he's not fast. He's not super strong. He's not a tackling machine. He's the punter, and he's had to have 3 knee surgeries in 4 years, so he decided he's going to retire and go right for Barstool Sports. I woke up and said, is it February or April? Because it would have made more sense for that story to come out on April 1st than February 1st, but such is life. I hope that he reconsiders, because he is a damn good punter and really a great follow on Twitter. If you ever get the chance, do that. Oh, but yeah, that's the problem. Sometimes I just don't know what to talk about, and we got to figure out new ways to have fun with the show. Ah, damn it, I hit the wrong button again.
So get your facts straight.
No, that was the one for Aaron Beerline. No, you know what? I'm done playing sound clips, guys. I'm sorry. I don't even remember how I have this whole thing set up. That's just the kind of show that this is gonna be. I think in March, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull in someone that watches a lot of college basketball, and I'm gonna pull in someone that watches no college basketball, and I think we're all gonna fill out brackets. That might be the March show. We're gonna do some shows with some disc golf people this summer, at least 1, maybe 2. We will cover baseball, I guess. There's just be something to keep the feet open. We're going to do some other fun things. I got some other fun things planned. Basically, last week I decided, you know what, I'm going to do the beef show again. And I didn't really have time to plan the show out, but I've been asked so much about it by people, from my semi-quasi-producer Alex Shakow to listener number 7, John Emery. Former co-host Dave Hamlin has asked about it. My dad has asked a lot about it. Hey, Dad, what's up? Yeah, eat the onions, dude. And then, like, I've had a good friend of mine, Shay Abge from GR Hobby and Disc Golf. He listened to it. He thought it was entertaining, at least the one Dave episode. And a friend of mine I've had for a long time, runs a political talk podcast named Aaron Beerline, has asked me a couple times, hey man, you ever going to do the beef show again? And none of them have ever said it's entertaining. They just want to know if I'm going to do it again. And this week I just kind of got sick of fielding the questions. I had one of our listeners, Brian Markham. What's up? Congratulations, bro. He asked me what my Super Bowl pick was, and I was like, well, I guess that's a good enough reason as any to do the beef show. So, last time the Patriots were in the Super Bowl, we had the Deflategate thing that started, and it still will not end. And Seattle was the defending Super Bowl champions, and they were looking great. Now, Atlanta has somehow managed to find this amazing defense that didn't really exist a whole lot during the season, but damn did they shut Green Bay down. And they shut Seattle down, although Seattle wasn't really the Seattle team we thought they were. New England has been New England. Tom Brady was suspended for the first 4 games because of Deflategate, and still managed. They went. Man, when did Jimmy Garoppolo get hurt? The second game? I don't remember. I just remember drafting Tom Brady in like the 6th or 7th round, and everyone's like, oh, ha, 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 ha. And then I finished second in my fantasy football league with Tom Brady as my starting quarterback. So, I mean, whatever. Joke's on you, suckers. And, you got LeGarrette Blount, Julian Edelman on one side. The defense is still good. I mean, I think it's going to be a good game, and I know everyone is rooting for the Atlanta Falcons because they're the Atlanta Falcons.
Garbage!
And they are just so sick of the Patriots winning. So last time Patriots were in a Super Bowl, I predicted 28-24 Patriots, and the score was 28-24 Patriots. Do I go back to the well? Because I missed badly last year. Oh, goodness. I mean, besides for the Cleveland game, have the Patriots scored 28 points in a game? I don't know. I really should look that up before I come on air. Like I said, this was kind of all unplanned. I'm going to go, New England's going to win. I know that for sure. By how much? I think they're going to win by 4 to 7 points. I think it's going to be 28-24 New England. And I don't think it's going to be a super entertaining game. I don't care if Lady Gaga is going to talk about politics during the halftime performance. Honestly, 0 fucks given.
It's not a big deal.
So, but I think 28-31. Ooh, I like that score idea. New England 31, Atlanta 28. New England wins the Super Bowl. Roger Goodell has to give the Vince Lombardi trophy to Tom Brady. And that, I think, when we all think about how much we love football, I think that more than anything, is the desired result and outcome that we all want. I think if you search your feelings, you know it to be true. So, that's it for this week. Thank you to everyone who listened and got all the way to this portion of the show. We'll be back in March in about 4 or 5 weeks when they do the selection show. And then we'll get the ball rolling from there. If you are interested in emailing the show, beefshow71@gmail.com. I do have a Twitter. I kind of use it sometimes at beefingr. And then check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/beefshow. So everyone, go out, do those things. Like the Facebook page so that you can actually see the stuff that we post. Because we're going to start really keeping up on the Facebook page. I promise this time. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Brandon Braisted. You have a great night.
Garbage day!